Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street, back with videos. The chest infections hopefully pretty much disappeared. Everything else that's going on in the world with myself, I won't bore you with that, but today's video is going to be around Powerledger. We're getting back into the swing of many videos going out on a daily basis, so looking forward to being back on the channel and delivering hopefully some good educational and informative videos for you guys out there. So welcome aboard if you are new to the channel, and of course welcome to all those that have been with us for some time. It's very much nearly a few months away from 3 years this channel's been going on, so obviously I would love to do more videos over this time, but of course work, etc., working in the space in general is always a 24/7 situation, so I'm looking forward to getting some more videos done. But yes, Powerledger is the topic today. I'm going to be answering a couple of the comments that were in some of the previous videos that we had. The latest one in particular was a interview that we did with Dr. Vivek, or Professor Vivek as well, from Powerledger, the CTO, discussing very much the application of artificial intelligence and blockchain within Powerledger and the technology in general. It's a really fascinating conversation, but I'm going to pull this out a bit more. We're going to be talking about hydrogen, mainly because this is a really interesting area of energy evolution, and it's something that I invest in stocks. I don't really do too much into this kind of stock traditional markets, but hydrogen is one that I'm really focused on, irrespective of perhaps what you have or haven't seen in the news recently, where you always get the usual FUD like you do in the crypto space. We'll go into a bit more detail as to why I'm focused particularly on hydrogen and the utilization of blockchain, particularly Powerledger's aspect to this as well. So before we go into that, let's just have a quick check. Make sure you check out the other videos, topics, discussions, interviews on the channel. Hopefully you find them all very interesting. Of course, if you haven't done so already, smash that subscribe button. Absolutely flying through these numbers, nearly towards 15,000, which is very much appreciated. Thank you for sharing the channel with your friends and family and co-workers, etc. Please continue to do that so we can spread this knowledge a bit further. So guys, hydrogen first and foremost. I've got a few tabs open here, of course. I wanted to very quickly start on the aspect of the color spectrums of hydrogen. So many people, and this relates heavily to the topic we're going to be speaking about in blockchain, purely from the validation, the verification perspective, okay, and why this is so such a fascinating topic, why it's so relevant with relation to things like ESGs and the validation of that using the likes of blockchain technology. I'm not going to go for every single color. I'll give you an overline, but we've got green hydrogen, blue, gray, black and brown, pink, turquoise, yellow and white, which is quite amazing really, but they all have actually got different applications, different usage application for these variations of hydrogen output and input. The ones in particular that are of interest at the moment, of course, is the green hydrogen, as you can expect, particularly from the word green. This is a big topic, as you know, in the world right now. This stems particularly off Agenda 30 programs, or UN Sustainability Development Goals for 2030 and beyond. Multitude of different targets and multitude of different areas of interest around the globe, and what we're trying to achieve globally through the usual aspects of World Economic Forum, Davos, etc., all linking up through this. And one of those big areas is around sustainability and the energy aspect of it as well. So it's a really big topic. You'll also hear probably and predominant colors being blue hydrogen. You might hear about the black and brown or the gray as well. These ones in particular not usually talked about significantly, but they do have their own aspects of application, as we just mentioned as well. You can see even yellow hydrogen does have a big part to play in solar panels aspect of the electrolysis as well, which is really interesting. But yes, it's these areas that are of interest, because we're talking specifically about carbon or the neutralization of it, the aspect of solar, wind, turbine, all of these things. How can we power them? How can we power the plants moving forward? And also the integration of things like the EV cars. What's the comparison to EV? It's always been spoken about that hydrogen would essentially potentially replace petroleum. And in my mind, I've always looked at it in a way, you may or may not agree, but I have this philosophy in my mind for some time that petrol would be replaced by hydrogen eventually, and that EVs were essentially the equivalent of diesel. That's not necessarily because of the implications of how dirty EV or battery capacities can be. And we're still in the early stages of development, the adoption of this, to see if that psychology actually works or not. But that's my thought process behind it. Is with a pinch of salt, but that's kind of how I see it. Like maybe in 10-15 years time, when combustion engines are completely gone or seem to be going, is that we would have these two technologies as the prime ones moving forward. I'm sure there'll be one or two other ones that get added to fruition, but particularly in the oil situation, we tend to have the two variants or options. And hydrogen technology is massively growing, it's massively developing. Semiconductors, all of these areas of interest are really having significant evolution in the advancements of what they're capable of doing. And we're seeing, I think at CES, for those that don't know, there's a massive event in Vegas every year, happened a week or so ago, and there was more talk than ever before about the adoption of hydrogen. And we were seeing the first working proper car engines, hydrogen car engines, and how these could be implemented into like racing, not necessarily F1, but the steps down from that potentially, and things like this, to show the capability of it. That actually, some people are worried, are we going to have enough power? Is there going to be a similarity to what we can achieve with petroleum cars at the moment? And the answer at the moment is yes. Just from the horsepower, the ability, and the cleanliness of it is really fascinating. So we've got these colors, we've got the topic of hydrogen. Why is this so interesting? Well, as you know, with everything I like to talk about when we're investing, is what's the actual market value here, not just in the short term, but the long term. Okay, so we can make that comparison of understanding the industry and the market, that the companies that we are investing in the crypto space are applying themselves to sector or industry wise as to what this market value could be, because this makes a massive difference, and it makes a massive interaction with the market price moving forwards, and why this is such a significant topic. So we've understand that this not new, but hydrogen's been around for a long time. We understand this mechanism coming into play over these coming years. It's already here. We're building the infrastructure here in the UK, as everyone is globally, and hydrogen, in my opinion, will be absolutely huge. I don't listen to the news. I don't watch the news. I don't even watch TV. I watch like Prime every now and then. But when I see articles, in particular, when I'm doing loads of research about stocks and investment, hydrogen is always seen as bad, or this has happened, and it's creating this complexity that this is a terrible technology or resource, and there's no infrastructure, this, that, and the other. And all these things are improving all the time. You can absolutely define this very similarly to how the crypto space is sometimes, when you see like negative articles, or something has happened over here, and then it sends a ripple effect, and then everyone thinks that is the gospel and we should follow it. I'm not saying that hydrogen is 100% clean, as we know, because of those color spectrums that we just went through briefly, but I know for a fact that it's going to be utilized significantly over these coming years. So let's have a quick look at some of these statistics that I'm talking about here, because I think it's really important to understand this. As I said, whenever we talk about on this channel the infrastructures of blockchain and the companies that we invest in with the crypto assets, we also want to understand the markets that they're in. So I'm going to start with 2030. So 2030 being a big target significance for the UN agenda, as I mentioned, and many just general targets of ESG compliance and sustainability, etc. So according to this, the global hydrogen market valued at $242 billion in 2023 is projected to be $410.6 billion by 2030. So there's an increase, or CAGR, of 7.8%. Now, in my opinion, I think that's going to be a lot higher. A lot of these trend setters or these market evaluators are kind of going really on existing trend. Not many of them kind of accommodate numbers that would insinuate that, okay, we need to also add maybe some variables or stipulations, for a better word, as to why this number should be smaller or bigger. They just go based on the current trend movements, right? And some extra mathematical equations in the background. But for me, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, we see the magnitude revenue-wise of fuel capacity. It's been around for decades. It's had a long time to mature itself and grow, right? And hydrogen is in that infant stage of adoption and utilization infrastructure, as we just mentioned a moment ago. For me, I think that number is going to be significantly higher, purely from that adaptation of what we're trying to achieve globally, or companies, whatever, institutions, to those ESG goals to try and hit those targets of climate change. Right now, greenwashing is a big topic at the moment as to, are companies following suit? Are they, giving valid data? Greenwashing in general politically is a big question mark. Is this even actually happening? Is it just a directive for us to go and buy heat pumps, which are pretty useless, to be honest, from the research I've been doing? But anyway, it's where the money goes. I'm not stupid. And if you're listening to this, you make your own judgments for sure. But I certainly move away from the media outlets and stuff, and I have my opinion based on of technology and what I know definitively in the opportunities that these bring. And I know that money and contracts play a big part in the background. Okay, so irrespective of all that, we're going to pretend none of that's going on. We're just going to look purely focused on what's the market opportunity. Am I going to make money out of this thing? Like, ultimately, what goes on over here, like, it's too late now. Forget it. Like, we're just going to have to follow the pattern. If you want to leave the system or this, that, and the other, you go down your own path. You go on your own track and try and find ways to make money off this stuff. Okay, so it's a bit of a moral stipulation there. But here is what we are with at the moment. So 2030. Now look at this, 2040. That number jumps up significantly to 761 billion by 2040, according to Business Wire in the researchandmarkets.com. Again, I still think this is going to be a hell of a lot higher than that. Well over, in my opinion, the trillion marks, purely as well with the instances of like supply chain mechanisms and everything going on worldwide, the integration of AI, 5G/6G, forthcoming as well, of course, the interaction of IoT and blockchain, as we've spoken so many times on this channel. I feel like the ability of the usage of these kind of resources can significantly increase as well. So that's my thoughts and opinion on it. But even if we went on these numbers, guys, they are really good, healthy numbers. Now, if you've got loads of money, absolutely fantastic. Congratulations. There's a big percentage of us in the world that don't have huge amounts of capital to invest in things. We've got to be quite strategic how we do this and where we invest our money. So this is not financial advice or anything. It's just purely the matter of making your own risk assessments and things like this. Manage your own risk, manage your own money, invest what you can afford to lose, as they say. But my point being with this is, don't sit there and think you're always necessarily going to be a millionaire overnight or a cycle. For me, when you're looking at things like pensions, I have a pension and stuff, but I also try and accommodate areas of investment manually myself in stocks, in crypto, other areas as well, where I say, okay, pensions, they do their own thing. They've got their own brokerage to invest in various different areas and industries and move that money around on my behalf. That's what pensions are, basically. And it's almost the opposite of what I do with like my trading 212 account or crypto in general. I do things myself, have a bit more responsibility, obviously. But the aspect of this is that with the hydrogen aspect, I feel like this is a potentially big play, but it's something that's not going to happen overnight. It's something where we want to think about it in the long term. So looping this back to a Powerledger here, guys, because this is where ultimately many of you are more interested in, is Powerledger's course aspect of peer-to-peer trading, the ability to have validation, transparency, all the usual things that you would expect with blockchain, smart contracts, the certifications that we did a big video on a few weeks ago. I'll leave a link to it at the end of this one, around certifications of energy, how you're buying and selling it, whether that's through the peer-to-peer trading platforms or it's you're buying it directly from the utility companies, vice versa, or you're a prosumer, you're accumulating solar, wind, etc. on your house and you're sending it back into the networks for other people to buy at specific real-time rates that are justified by artificial intelligence, all these technologies that we got. Connectivity, great. 5G, Starlink now, the whole world can get involved, guys. There's no more of this, rural areas can't get any signal. There's a multitude of thousands upon thousands of satellites putting in place. Yes, some of them are expensive right now, but that will come down and you're going to see this mass adoption. The whole conversation about mass adoption is going to get bigger than ever before because now more and more people have accessibility, and rightly so. I think it's been very unequal in the world for a long time, and blockchain has the ability, including all the other technologies. Yes, of course, there's money behind it all, and etc., but the opportunity is there to be taken. So you've got Powerledger as this technology. We've had that big conversation with Vivek the other week about artificial intelligence aspect to this. in terms of algorithms and things like that. So we get to the hydrogen point, and I'm just going to quickly flip this back into that certification topic and everything else that we just mentioned, because this is important. So we got the agenda aspect, we got the aspect of potential greenwashing, and the reason I picked this up on the previous video is quite significant. So here's a perfect example. The SEC fined Deutsche Bank, and this was back last year, a subsidiary of $19 million for misstating ESG objectives. Now, back in the day, late noughties, about 2010-11, when I was first getting into marketing, corporate social responsibility, CSR, was a big topic. Every website, every company was trying to rush to get a nice page, a nice elaborate green page on their websites. Maybe not fully always understanding exactly what it's about, but it had to look good, that we're sustainable, we recycle, all this stuff, right? And you did your best. And some could eliminate their carbon emissions by offsetting them, by paying some extra contributions to it. Never really know where all that money goes, to be honest. I can probably imagine where it goes. But it's similar to the ESG. The ESG is, I would say, a massive evolution, and it's a massive, seriously taken initiative because money is always involved, and particularly from these fines. So Deutsche Bank, not even the banks can get away with this. We mentioned this in the previous video. So why is blockchain potentially important in this area? Well, from a company's perspective, you've got two pathways of initiation here. You've got the ability to confirm that where you're purchasing your energy and your sustainability aspects is legitimate, is verified, is processed, is validated. You've got certification in smart contract depth built into the blockchain or the technology or the platform that you are using. So there is no discrepancy. However, there are companies like this, or banks, etc., institutions, that have been putting things or nonsense numbers out there that equate to showing that, they were following this detail. We're doing this, we're doing that, to be on top of the targets, to not get fines, to maybe potentially, I'm not saying Deutsche Bank have in particular at all, but potentially removing themselves from offsetting or taxes, all of this kind of stuff, right? The reward systems, etc. So there's so much in the background going on with this, right? That we have to identify that this is a huge, significant thing that's going on in the background, right? So we've got businesses left, right, and center trying to follow these modules, follow these aspects of what's going on with the requirements that are given to them by governments, parliamentary levels, organizations, initiatives, whatever you want to call them. There is this ability. So if a company can turn around and legitimately on their website say this, they have to back it up. Otherwise, they could potentially get fined. And it's a very serious aspect, as we just mentioned, in the world right now. Okay. Now, we know that with the solutions that Powerledger provide, not just from the blockchain perspective, but also the tracking abilities. So we've got the end user, whoever that is, whether it's retail or institution, being able to back up where they're getting everything from, the certifications of it, have they bought it legitimately, are they paying the right prices, etc. On the other side of it, you got the supplier's perspective. We already mentioned about some of these colors, etc. But this is a huge new industry. And Powerledger has done a great website here, great job with this, to try and explain this a bit more detail. You got everything, guys. It's not just the supply of it, the production of it, transportation, everything you think of, supply chain. How much is this all costing? And ultimately, every cost associated with carbon credit, when we're buying utilities right now, our standard rates, our wholesale rates, whatever, is accumulated by loads of different variables: transportation, supply, maintenance. You could be paying for leaks, everything that there's so many things you don't know about that you're paying for with energy. You just pay it, unfortunately, and you get irate with it because the prices are going up and you're going, hang on a minute, we're going into this renewable sector. Why am I paying for stuff that's essentially free? Well, there's a cost associated to infrastructure, all these things, and eventually one day it will come down potentially. But we know that significant changes on the horizon for hydrogen. I've mentioned about cars. I've mentioned now planes. Guys, go and do a bit of research. Check out even, for example, the new Airbuses that are coming, hydrogen powered. They are incredible. The amount of reduction in emissions is absolutely phenomenal. There are arguments to say that hydrogen can potentially be dangerous if it's not secured properly. Don't get me wrong. The Airbus, other companies, big companies, aren't just going to put willy-nilly hydrogen capsules in things and fuel cells and stuff without doing due diligence of safety and health, etc. Right? Let's be honest and not stupid, right? This is here now, and it's going to be a significant change in the energy and the environmental sectors. And I, for one, as I said, I'm investing in several companies related to hydrogen production, fuel cells, infrastructure, all these things. But I'm also extremely interested in the aspect of blockchain. So we can have the validation. We have the pricing in real time because of AI integration, like the video that we had with Vivek the other day. We can follow the transportation. So ultimately, us as users can see the whole entire framework of what we're buying and selling on the markets, on the trade platforms potentially, and especially with hydrogen as well. There's a multitude of different destinations that this hydrogen can obviously come from. And you've got this now, the Council of Hydrogen Certification, Powerledger helping to found the Council of Hydrogen Certification. This is very much in relation to all the energy certificates that we've spoken about before. And it's no different to hydrogen as well. So that's why I'm relatively massively excited, because you've got problems, you've got a solution, but you've also now with Powerledger, for example, got a solution to support those solutions as well, whether it be platform based, service based, or the fact that you just need something in the background to prove something. And you know what, there's a lot of money in this. And I remember the CSR conversation, going back to that about 10-12 years ago. You used to have to pay like 10, maybe even sometimes 50,000 minimum pounds to get a report done to confirm that you are doing all of these things, the ISO compliance, all of that stuff relating to you saying that you are CSR compliant. It's no different to ESG. If anything, it's bigger than that. There are a multitude of companies dedicated to the law aspect and the building of reports and validation of ESG. This can be reduced significantly because if you have or use platforms that use blockchain and AI technology integration, you will save yourself a lot of money. It will be real time, and it will absolutely confirm all the reporting that you put on placement on your website. Now, we talked about Deutsche Bank. There are a multitude, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of businesses out there, not just the institutions, the high business, large enterprises. There are many SMEs, and all of these people, including ourselves from a residential perspective, will need to start abiding to these ESG regulations. And if we think about this logically and what's to come in the future of blockchain and tokenomics and economics of tokenomics, if that makes sense, we're going into a crazy world, guys. Credit scoring, all of these things, it's surreal. It sounds crazy. It's been going on for years. If you don't believe me, you can see even our UK government in Wales, for example, down the road from us here in England, they are trialing basic universal income. They're trialing the credit scoring, as of Scotland, as of Canada, many other countries. Africa have been doing it for years under the initiative of the World Economic Forum. All these scorings will make an effect of whether you could, not saying definitively, but the potential to say you can't buy this, you can't do this, you can't drive here, you can't transport here because you haven't got a good score. Why haven't you got a good score? Because you've either been lying about your reporting of ESG, or it could be simply the build up with the chips that are coming, the SIM cards, everything that's related to everything that we do, and the tokenomics behind that. I've always talked about play to earn, eat to earn, learn to earn. All of these things will accommodate eventually over the next 5, 15, 20 years to have substantial mechanism of why this is such a big and important topic to understand and learn now. Not when it's happening, learning it now. Trust me, go and do your research. It's very fascinating. Even in the space that I'm in, the technologies that I work with, the people that I work with, I've known it all about this for a number of years, and I've seen it in play. It's not something being made up. They're not theories. Go and look for yourselves. You will see them. You'll see all the big companies, all the big names, which supposedly wear capes, pretending to be heroes, are actually building half of this stuff. So it's very fascinating. And it would be exactly the same for our climate goals, our climate scoring. All of these things will be built in. Could go down the route of the CBDC aspect, programmability of all these things connecting as well. There's some great articles out there about merging technologies of how 5G, 6G, AI, IoT, cloud, blockchain are working together for these very purposes that I've just mentioned to you. But the industries are huge. We've seen the monetary values, I think, are very conservative, but you've got to understand the aviation industry is huge. The car industry is huge. And just generalization of energy usage is huge, revenue-wise. And to have a piece of that, I'm not saying Powerledger is going to take all of that. You've got the likes of Energy Web in blockchain as well, of course, many others. You've also got companies outside of blockchain that are working with hydrogen and other technological advancements in energy to really push this forward. So that's why I'm interested. That's why I'm excited about if I'm investing in crypto assets. I look at the industries, I look at the sectors, and I'm very interested more so than ever before about what's the monetary value as an industry in the sector. Again, not saying they're going to take 100% of that pie, but they will certainly be in there amongst the mist because they are so advanced with what they're doing solutions and platform-wise. Before we go into the chart, guys, someone in the comments or a few people have asked about patents. I have asked the team. There are a number of them still going through. They're not publicly available yet. All I recommend is keeping an eye on Google patents. It's a particular URL that you can check. All I know is that they are being worked on. They are still not fully accepted yet, but they are still in fruition. And it can take a long time sometimes, guys, sometimes even years for these patents to be approved, whether it's through the US government or Australia, whatever. And they do take some time. Some of them I've seen, even the likes of Quant, etc., put them in at like 2017, 18, and have only just come to fruition. So keep an eye on it. I'll let you know as soon as I know. The team have responded to me directly and said that they will let me know personally as well as soon as those come out. So I'll let you guys know. But let's go into the chart really quickly of the POWR Powerledger token, because we have had some really good movements on the chart with this. So I think there's a bit of a fake out here on the chart. It actually went up to around 96, 97 cents. So I've adjusted this price marker. We had a good uptake, guys. So this low point here on the 3rd of January took us all the way up to that 96, 97 slot, about 216 or over 200% increase in value. Absolutely phenomenal move that. Coming out of fruition of some updates from Powerledger, staking, etc. as well. Loads of stuff going on with Powerledger at that time. And there was a report, an article, and a book that came out particularly at this time. That was more the prominent figure of people getting an understanding and knowledge of what's really going on and how the energy sector can be affected with with the likes of Powerledger and other blockchain companies. So since then, of that closing point of around 96, 97 cents, we have retraced ourselves good 70%. 70% is a good marker to show a proper full-on correction. In my opinion, this is obviously overpurchased. It was because of new buy the rumor, sell the news, as they say. But if we just have a look at this in a bit more of a better overview, you can clearly see that has fully retraced. We're now pretty much trying to trace ourselves back onto proper trend patterns of where Powerledger should be. So you can see the previous price points around 15 cents towards the latter stage of last year. This flew up more so towards this 30 to 40 cent mark that we've been seeing over the last few months, irrespective of this big uptake that we saw here at the beginning of January. So we're now back at this low region of around 30 cents as of recording. My expectations, if we were to pull some of the previous fib retracement levels over, I'm just going to try my best to keep that in line. And I'll pull over this macro level one as well, just so we got a bit of an extra reference. I'm aligning those grey areas there. You can clearly see if we just take out that price range that we're floating around this 27 to 30 cent mark again. So what this could potentially mean is we've got two areas of opportunity. We can have a projection upwards again for a retest, maybe up another level to the next fib level around 50 cents, but I might see that quite unlikely. We're still in a winter market. People have made a lot of money off Powerledger. We're now into that quiet period again, as you can see across the rest of the market. So my anticipation is we might see a bubble effect to try and retest the 40 at some point potentially. The alternative to this is we break that support level here at 29.30 and we potentially dip down towards that 25.26 mark and ultimately potentially retesting the 20 to 18 cent mark. Now it sounds a bit far-fetched, but it can definitely be possible, and that's certainly where I've got some extra buy orders in. So for me personally, I haven't taken note just yet of the 30 cent mark, but I do have purchase orders at 27 cents and around about 24.5 cents, I think, just to hit those two markers on each side. And I have one just below the 20 cent mark as well in case we have a bit of a dip down. I may change that strategy slightly and just get it slightly over 20 cents just in case, but that's where they are currently in my portfolio buyings on Qcoin as limit orders. If anyone wants a video on limit orders or how to structure purchasing crypto in advance, do let me know. I know there's loads out there already, but if you prefer me to do it, no problem, just let me know in the comments and we'll cover that for sure as a topic. The other indicators on the right, left hand, showing 39 on the 14-day and 45 on the 28-day. So again, that's why I haven't really been biting at the 30 cent just yet. I would like to see that 28-day coming down to around 43, 42. But I wouldn't be too mad at doing a manual purchase at the moment if I was DCAing at this moment in time. 39 is still very respectable. I would like to see that come down to around about 35 on that as well. And the indicators on the right hand side here are showing relatively interesting kind of progression. Even though it's in the negative, it's showing good structure for the whole year in general. It's not too bad. There's a lot of assets a lot worse than this, but the overall year spectrum is still 75% up. So it's showing good confidence. It's showing there's more wallet holders than ever before, and there's a lot more confidence in holding too. There's a lot more people understanding more than ever before the energy sector, the application of blockchain, as I mentioned before, and where Powerledger sits with all of this too. So there's a lot of really good positive things to take out of this. Even though it's in the red, it's not too bad. But yes, I do anticipate that in these markets over the next couple of months until the Bitcoin halving, where we see a reaction, I think you can get a lot of stability around these kind of fluctuating areas. And in particular, I'm just going to mark out a nice generic area here, if I can find my rectangle, of these positions. I think this is a good category area to do some DCAing into. Before, I believe still that towards the end of the year, when interest rates and stuff come down, in the world, and particularly here in the UK, that we'll start then the venture of the huge bull cycle where we can see those previous all-time highs potentially, and try and smash through those ultimate ones towards that $152 mark, which would be absolutely fascinating to see. If we can capture some extra power tokens at those sort of 20 cent marks, it'd be happy days to see a massive uptake of gain opportunity profitability in the next year or so to come. So that's my thoughts and reflections at the moment of Powerledger. That's where I'm sort of positioning myself at the moment. But in general, I'm very happy with Powerledger. I think it's doing some great advancements. The team's fantastic. It's frustrating sometimes when some of you can't see things like the patents, but keep on it, guys. Keep your eyes peeled. Check the Google patents out regularly on that site. But yeah, keep an eye as well, guys, as I said, on the aspect of what you're investing in. Where are the sectors that these guys are involved with? What's the monetary value of these markets as well, to get a better defined scenario in your minds as to what you should and shouldn't be investing in. But guys, I'm going to wrap up there. Thank you so much for watching this Powerledger video. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.